overcome your fear of speaking.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to The English Edge. I'm Emily.
And I'm Brian. It's great to have you with us today.
Yes. We're so excited about today's episode because we're going to talk about something really important for English learners.
That's right. Today's topic is overcome your fear of speaking. Many learners feel nervous when they have to speak English. But don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll have some useful tips to help you feel more comfortable speaking English.
Exactly. So if you ever hesitate to speak English because you're afraid of making mistakes, this episode is for you.
And don't forget, we'll also introduce some helpful vocabulary related to today's topic. So, stay tuned.
Ready? Let's get started.
All right, Emily, let's start with the big question. Why do people feel nervous when speaking English?
Good question. Well, I think the main reason is the fear of making mistakes. People are afraid they'll say something wrong or that others won't understand them.
Yes, they worry about using the wrong grammar, mispronouncing words, or confusing the listener.
Exactly. And when you speak English in an unfamiliar situation, like talking to a native speaker or speaking in a meeting, your brain can freeze. You can't find the words, and you feel nervous.
Oh, yes. I've seen this happen many times. People get so worried about making mistakes that they don't speak at all.
And here's something interesting. Most native speakers don't care if you make mistakes.
Right. No one expects you to be perfect. In fact, most people admire you for trying to speak their language.
Exactly. So you need to accept that making mistakes is a normal part of learning.
Yes. And if you don't speak, you'll miss out on so many opportunities to practice and improve.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's not failure, it's growth.
Now, let's talk about some practical tips to overcome your fear of speaking English. Emily, what's your first tip?
Oh, my first tip is face your fear.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean you should put yourself in situations where you have to speak English, even if it feels scary. For example, order food in English, ask for directions, or introduce yourself to someone in English.
Yes. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become. It's like exercising a muscle.
Exactly. At first, you'll feel nervous, but if you keep practicing, your fear will slowly go away.
Nice. What's your second tip?
Don't hesitate. If you make a mistake, keep talking. Don't stop, and don't apologize too much. Just keep going.
Yes. Many people hesitate because they're afraid of mistakes. But honestly, making mistakes shows you're learning. Don't worry if your grammar isn't perfect or if your pronunciation is off. Just keep speaking.
Right. And one more thing, practice in a safe environment. For example, practice speaking English with your friends, classmates, or even in front of a mirror.
Oh, I love that. Talking to yourself in the mirror might sound funny, but it really helps.
Yes! It helps you get used to hearing your own voice speaking English.
Remember, every time you speak, you're growing. Every small conversation is a step towards improvement.
Exactly! Now, Brian, I know what some listeners are thinking. What if people laugh at me or judge me when I speak English?
Yes, that's a common fear. But think about this, Emily. If someone speaks your language and makes a small mistake, would you laugh at them?
Of course not. I'd actually try to help them.
Same here. And remember, every successful English speaker once started as a beginner, just like you.
That's so true. And here's the last practical tip, and I think it's the most important one.
Oh, what is it?
Speak slowly and use short, simple sentences.
Ah, interesting. Why does that help?
Well, when you speak too fast or try to say long, complicated sentences, it's easy to make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you might feel nervous or lose confidence.
Oh, I get it. So by speaking slowly and using short sentences, you can avoid mistakes and feel more comfortable.
Exactly. Plus, when you speak slowly, your brain has more time to think. You can organize your words better and feel less pressure.
Ah, so instead of rushing to speak perfectly, it's better to take your time and speak clearly.
Yes. And here's another tip. Memorize some common sentences that you can use in daily conversation.
Oh, like having a small English toolbox in your head.
Exactly. For example, learn simple phrases like, "Can you help me?" "I'm looking for," or "I don't understand."
Ah, so if you memorize those sentences, you won't need to think too much when speaking. You'll just say them naturally.
Yes. And the best part is, once you get comfortable with simple sentences, your confidence will grow. Then you can slowly start using longer sentences.
Wow. So the key is start small, speak slowly, and build confidence step by step.
Exactly. Don't rush. Speaking slowly isn't a weakness. It's a strength. And don't pressure yourself to speak perfectly. Just take your time, use simple sentences, and keep practicing.
Perfect. That's such a powerful tip. I'm sure a lot of listeners will find this super helpful. Now let's talk about some useful vocabulary from today's episode.
Nervous, when you feel worried or scared. Example, I feel nervous when I speak English with strangers.
Hesitate, to pause before doing something because you're nervous. Example, don't hesitate to speak English. Just do it.
Mispronounce, meaning to say a word incorrectly. Example, she mispronounced my name during the meeting.
Confuse, when you don't understand something. Example, I often feel confused when people speak too fast in English.
Unfamiliar, something you don't know or recognize. Example, traveling to a new country can feel unfamiliar at first.
Situation, a set of conditions at a particular time. Example, speaking English in a job interview is a difficult situation.
Freeze, meaning to suddenly stop moving or speaking because of fear or shock. Example, when he was asked to speak, he freezes and couldn't say anything.
Expect, meaning to think or believe that something will happen. Example, I didn't expect to speak English so confidently today.
Admire, meaning to feel respect or approval for someone or something. Example, I really admire people who can speak many languages fluently.
Accept, to agree that something is true. Example, accept your mistakes and learn from them.
Opportunity, a chance to do something. Example, speaking with native speakers is a great opportunity to practice.
Growth, the process of becoming better or stronger. Example, every mistake helps you with your growth in learning English.
Face, to deal with a problem or challenge. Example, you need to face your fear of speaking English.
Toward, meaning in the direction of something or someone. Example, He walked toward the bus stop to catch his bus.
Judge. Meaning, to form an opinion or decision about someone or something. Example, don't judge people by their appearance.
Impress. Meaning, to make someone feel admiration or respect. Example, she impressed everyone with her fluent English speaking skills.
Avoid, meaning, to stay away from or prevent something. Example, he tries to avoid speaking in public because he gets nervous.
Organize, meaning, to arrange or plan something in a structured way. Example, I need to organize my notes before the meeting.
Pressure, meaning, the feeling of being stressed or needing to do something quickly. Example, she felt pressure to finish the project on time.
Rush, meaning, to move or do something quickly, often due to time constraints. Example, he was rushing to catch the last bus.
So, what did we learn today, Brian?
We learned that it's normal to feel nervous, but you can overcome it by practicing and making mistakes.
And remember, use short and simple sentences to build your confidence.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to speak English and always keep practicing.
And remember to download the PDF file linked in the description below. It's a great way to review everything we talked about today.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode of The English Edge.